Good evening. I'd like to call this school board meeting to order. Today is November 1st, 2022, 6 p.m. And we'll start the evening off by saying welcome to our wonderful principals who are sitting in the first few rows. It's so great to see you all here. And I encourage the public and welcome the public to address the school board during the hearing of citizens at two different times, one with agenda items during the meeting. We'll call you forward for that. And then at the end of the meeting, you can speak on anything generally. All the cards have been collected. They had to have been collected at the beginning of the meeting. And so the first thing we'll do is our flag salute by the Northport High School JROTC under the direction of Lieutenant Commander D. Barnes, retired, and will be led by our student representative in the pledge, Caitlin Lewis from the Northport High School senior class. Please join me in standing if you can.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our student representative today, as I said, is Caitlin Lewis from Northport High School. Welcome, Caitlin. It's so nice for you to join us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Caitlin Lewis, and I'm from Northport High School. I am a senior. I am the president of the senior class, along with the president of National Art Honor Society and the CEO of our student-run business, Northport Prince. I am also the historian of National Honor Society and Triumph Music Honor Society. I plan to pursue graphic design at either FGCU or UCF.
Our character trait, strong trait for the month of November is selflessness. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel about this trait?
Selflessness is thinking about and putting the needs of others before your own. I have seen this so much in the last few weeks after the events of Hurricane Ian. Our community has come together to help rebuild everything, and especially within Northport High School. Northport High School returned about 2 weeks ago, and the teachers have just been amazing. They make sure that we are all safe and that we are doing well. And they have their own issues at their own homes as well. So this is really important because they just want to get us back up and running and feeling normal as well. Another thing is the students at Northport High School. So this past week we had Spirit Week, and I've seen so much selflessness within the clubs and our student government. A lot of times selflessness goes unseen because it happens behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't understand what gets put into some of these events like homecoming and just Spirit Week events in general. I've seen the student government members come together, and that we don't necessarily enjoy some of the events sometimes because we're too busy running it. But we do this because we want to make our student body happy, and we want them to enjoy the events because this is why we do it. And parents are the people who show the most selflessness because they are constantly putting us first. They want to help us succeed, and they do everything to help us succeed. So selflessness is something that everyone should have, and everyone needs to think about when they see some of the things that happened and think about what was put into it and who put their time into it.
Good job.
Well, we really thank you for being here with us today. I did present you with a certificate of appreciation. We do appreciate your coming today. And we look forward to hearing great things about you wherever you go and whatever you do. As busy as you are now in high school, I know that that is the key to success in college, is having been busy in high school. So best of luck to you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
And next up, we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Asplin?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few items here, and then we have a video as well during this one, so that should be nice. First of all, I just want to say Veterans Day is next week on Friday, November the 11th, and each school invests time in recognizing Veterans Day. These tributes may take the form of classroom curriculum, presentations, concerts, parades, and so on. And we hope that our families will help their children take the lesson home by looking for additional ways to appreciate veterans every day, all year round. So please join us as we say thank you and recognize the contributions of our veterans on November the 11th. In addition, I want to mention that the United States Marine Corps Commanding General of Training and Education Command has recognized Venice High School for exemplary performance and has been selected as the Naval Honor School for the 21-22 school year. So congratulations to them. Also, Holocaust Education Week in Florida will be held November 7th through 11th. Holocaust Education Week is held annually, the second week in November, which coincides with the anniversary of Kristallnacht, November 7th or 9th through the 10th, 1938, which was a major turning point in the persecution of European Jews by the Nazi regime. November 7th is Victims of Communism Day. This day is set aside to honor the hundreds of millions of people who have suffered under communist regimes across the world. Also, Kindness Day is on Sunday, November the 13th, and Get Social with Your School Day, or actually throughout the year. Didn't know if everyone knew that nearly all of our schools are on social media in some form or fashion. And if you haven't already checked out your school's social media accounts, please do so. And don't forget to check out our district level platforms as well. And new recognition program launched this month is SCS Cares. And I'd like to have Craig Maniglia, our Director of Communications, come forward. He's going to discuss a new employee recognition program for all employees that we are launching in November, being a month of thankfulness. And so SCS Cares, which is an acronym for Culture, Academics, Relationships, Experience, and Students. So Craig? Craig,
Lewis?
you're not on.
Oh, there, now I am.
Oh, there you are.
Turn me on back there, boys. So again, thank you, school board members, Dr. Asplin, Mr. McKinley, and Caitlin Lewis for being here tonight. As Dr. Asplin mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about a new recognition program. Since I've been here in Sarasota County for about 3 years now, one thing that we do a lot is recognize, but we don't do it in a way that it kind of sticks. So we recognize hallways, we recognize on, hey, great job, way to go. But what we're going to launch here is a new program that hopefully will stick a little bit, and it'll kind of be lasting for the individuals who are being recognized. So if you all could go to the PowerPoint, that would be great, the presenter station. So SCS Cares stands for, like Dr. Asplin just said, positive culture, excellence in academics, engaging relationships, enriching experiences for all students. And this is geared towards our employees. So our employees do things every day. They can be as simple as a teacher trying to get in with a bunch of boxes, and a custodian out front sees this and runs over and grabs the boxes to help her in. That's a cares you could give. Okay, so this is going to be an online blog. So what we're asking for is that it's also open and an opportunity for parents, staff, and community members to recognize Sarasota County School employees for going above and beyond their job to help others to show that they care. So we're inviting everybody in the community to tell your story, to acknowledge what's happening good when you see it. So the way this will work is it's all about positive recognition. So we're going to build a blog on the website. We hope to launch this by this Friday, and we'll get a lot of messaging out about it. But it's a positive recognition is submitted online by a parent, staff, or community member about an employee. The submission is formatted and edited where necessary for grammatical errors or privacy, and we're only posting positive stories in this platform. The submission is posted on the Public Cares webpage along with other cares for others to see throughout the month and then throughout the year. A notification email will be submitted, with the submission text included, will be sent to the recipient upon it coming in and copied to his or her supervisor and their supervisor as well. So it's a two-up type program. So that not only gives the supervisors the chance, but their supervisor a chance to reach down and tell that employee what a great job. At the end of each month, that CARES team will select the CARES of the month. And then that employee will be presented with a certificate and a pin at their work site. Board members, each of you see a pin at your site right now that I put up there. That'll be the pin they get and a certificate. And at the end of the school year, all 12 or probably 11, because we'll combine the summer months, but 11 CARES recipients will come to the school board for recognition. And so in the blog, this is kind of what the blog will look like on the website. It'll be Sarasota County Schools CARES, and then this page will come up, and this would be the month of November, for instance. And then each one of these little paragraphs could be someone that did something great, the school that they did it at, or the office that they did it at, along with the person who submitted it. They can be anonymous. They don't have to have a person's name assigned to it, but it's a way to show appreciation. So normally someone wants to do that. An example of a good CARES would be, my daughter turned 14 about 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago. And when she went to the bus stop, the bus driver opened the bus and had a balloon and a present for her. I never told her when her birthday was. She never told them, but that's what they did. That's a CARES. So who knows this happened besides you all now and me telling you this? My daughter. Okay? So that's where this comes into a big play, because that should have gone to Ms. Price and to Jody, and they could have reached down. And that's the kind of CARES that makes a big difference in a child's life and should be recognized. So that's kind of the impetus behind this whole program. At the end of the month, like I said, the CARES team will select a CARES that stood out among all the rest, and they will be awarded this certificate, this pin that you all have that they can wear or keep at their desk, whatever they want. And at the end of the year, they can all be recognized by the school board. So that's what we have for this recognition program. And Dr. Asplund also has something else he wants me to show you here, but if anybody has any questions about this, I could take those now. And if not, we'll...
Well, I think this is great. I think this is a wonderful thing to do.
Thank you.
I read something online yesterday about a horse, and I sat there with tears in my eyes because it was just such a wonderful story, a heartwarming story. That's what this will do.
Well, that's our hope. Our hope is to recognize, not everybody can be Teacher of the Year or Principal of the Year and be recognized on a state platform, but everybody does something every day to be recognized. Okay, so this is just a way to say thank you where everybody can see it. And so I do think this will stick. I have a lot of experience in this field, and I have a lot of experience with this program because I've already created it in another district, and it went very well. So I really think this will go really well for us. So moving on.
Mrs. Brown, do you have?
I think it's a great way for parents to reach out and say that, like you said, the bus driver or the teacher or someone reached out to them. It could even be the janitor, or even maybe somebody thinks that the principal did something great for them. And I know that we've received some emails, thanking someone or saying how someone did so, but I would really think that it'll be a much better way for parents or other employees or even citizens to reach out and say, how they were helped. And maybe some people even during the storm could reach out and say they wanted to thank someone.
Right.
So I think this is a great way.
So where this makes the biggest difference is at the celebration. So for instance, let's say that at Sarasota Middle School, where my daughter goes to school, had she been nominated and had they won, the person who nominated would have been invited. So the parent would have been invited. The school board would be invited. They know that it was happening, not expected to come, but could come if they had availability. The superintendent can come, the cabinet can come, and they celebrate this person at their work site in front of their peers for 10 minutes and give them this, and it just makes all the difference in the world to that person. So I know it's going to be a big deal, and I'm just happy I'm able to bring it here and share it with you all tonight. Okay, any other comments on this? If not, another thing that I don't know that Dr. Asplin talked about this, the second part of this, but so we've also, part of the strategic plan, which this falls in, to retain, create a premier workforce, is also to kind of share the shine. Some of our principals tonight are actually wearing the share the shine buttons we've created. What we're trying to do is tell everybody in the community to share the good things that are happening so that we keep drawing and attracting the brightest, the happiest, and just show what's going on, because there's a lot of good things happening in our school. So what we did was, you kind of have to market to do that. And what we've done is we've kind of gone out and we've teamed up, and I say teamed up loosely, we've kind of customized a website page that is already provided through a company called Niche. Now, some of you may have heard of Niche. If you live out of Market and you're looking to move to Florida, what would happen is you would say, what are the best schools in Florida? So you will type in, what are the best schools in Florida in a Google search, and a Niche normally will show up in the top 1, if not 2, of the search engines, and you would click on that, and then when it populates, it says 2023 best schools in Florida. This is all 67 schools rated. Okay, so when you go down, you'll see that St. John's is number 1. Currently, Sarasota County Schools is sitting at number 2, and it goes on and ranks all 67 schools all the way to the end. Now, this is a website that we don't control how they get the information. It all comes from the Florida Department of Education, but it does put it all in a nice place. So what we did this year is we decided to take our page and customize it. We did this for a couple of reasons. One, we are getting the most hits across the country than almost any school district there is. People from all over the world are hitting us. We're averaging 2,700 hits to this web page a month. Okay, it's over 30,000 in a year. So I was always told by my dad and everybody, fish where the fish are, right? So if they're coming to you, let's market to that group of people. So what we've done, is populated this website through Niche, and it talks about the overall Niche grade. It talks about academics, teachers, college prep, all this kind of stuff. It has our addresses, how to contact us. But what we've taken a little farther is, how do you enroll in our school here? So if I'm in Florida, if I'm in New York and I'm going to come down here and enroll in a school, I can actually do it right here as I've decided to move. I can click on this, and when I click on how to enroll, it will take me right to where I enroll for our school district. I don't have to jump around and kind of figure out, oh my gosh, where was I? How do I do that? Who do I call? What do I contact? The same thing is if I want to visit a campus. I can go, well, gosh, where are they? Well, here's every campus we have with the phone number and address and the link to their website. So you can click right on that and get there. So we took it one step further because there is a national shortage in teachers and a lot of different opportunities to work here. So a lot of people, like myself, came here to be in communications with Sarasota County Schools. But my wife was a teacher and needed a job. She could have applied to the job right here before we ever left. So when you click here, you can search the job. You can apply for the job, or you can connect right with a recruiter. So then when you move down, our social calendars are here. There's more rankings for Sarasota County Schools here. Then we have a map of Sarasota County schools where every school's grade is listed and where they are, which makes this kind of interesting, as you can see the A's and the B pluses and all the high grades. But then right below it, you can find a house in that neighborhood. You can say, well, I wonder if there's any houses by this school. And you go, oh, look. And then one step farther, we take it and we break down all our schools by elementary, middle, and high. So I have all the elementary schools listed, all the middle schools listed, and all the high schools listed. So right now we're piloting this year where we're building out the websites similar to the district website with our high schools because they draw big crowds, 2,700 students, 2,600 students. So then when you click on a high school, you can look at Riverview, for instance. You can see what it looks like. You can see their overall grade. You can go down, contact it. You can find out a little bit more. You can visit their website. You can register your child right there to the school or apply to register there. You can move down and see where they rank with all the best college prep programs. You can watch the latest video that was made about their school. You can look at all the academic information. You can see the average SAT scores, the ACT scores. You can see where the AP enrollment sits in that class. You can go and talk about their mission. You can see exactly where it's located on a map. You can find a home right there if you wanted to. You can see the overall grade for that school district, where the cost of living is a little more affordable than it was for all of Sarasota County. You can look at the culture and the safety, and then all of the social media platforms come up. You can see the diverse populations of the school. You can see the student ratio, the teacher ratio, and all the clubs and activities that they have. So we're building those out for our high schools right now, and if that goes well, we'll build them out for the rest of the school district. Then, as Dr. Asplund said, we do have a video to show. This does allow us to put like a recruitment video up for people from out of state to see what is the impression you want when you look at Sarasota County schools. So we have this video here, but before I play that, I'll skip down a little bit and show you that the district also has our average SAT scores, the average graduation rate, talk about academics, arts, and athletics, the diversity in our schools, free and reduced lunch, social media platforms to jump on, average student-teacher ratios, and whatnot. So with that, I will play the video, and it's about 1 minute and 15 seconds to kind of hold the attention of whoever's here, and we'll go from there.
Both of our daughters started out going to Southside Elementary School. We really felt like they took an interest in those children and tried to steer them in the best direction.
They got them into Sarasota Middle School in their gifted program, the PGA program, and that program was instrumental in setting them up for the ACE program at Sarasota High and the IB program at Riverview High School.
That's the beauty of Sarasota County. There's so many different opportunities for all different kinds of children. And so what this does is that when they go to college, they're already starting with a year's worth of college credits.
People that I work with in the community and know, I hear nothing but success stories. You know, I had the opportunity to leave my job and go to New York for another job, and one of the reasons why we didn't is because of the Sarasota County schools.
Take tours, ask how they can be involved, ask about their successes, ask how many students graduate with ACE, how many students actually graduate with the IB program. You'll see that these programs are so successful, and the teachers are the best of the best. They really are vested in these children. They want them to succeed. They want their programs to succeed.
These schools are incredible, and people know it, and they want to live here because of it.
Okay, so that kind of concludes where that would end. So if you're from out of state looking to move here, this is a kind of a snapshot of the school system and all the programs. Some of the programs, not all the programs, but some of the programs, but you can find every school and every program that's available to fit your needs right here in a one-stop shop. So, and that concludes my portion of Dr. Asplund's presentation.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you so much. I love this. I think this is great. And I know it's kind of a work in progress, as you said, so you're starting with the high schools, but one, I love the map. I think that's huge. Well, I'm a visual learner, but I think lots of people see that, and especially with the school ratings. But I noticed that there were reviews. Is that pulled from Niche, or is that, where is that data being pulled from?
That's all you can review right there on the platform, and that's all Niche. We can't edit any of the data that comes in. That comes from the Department of Education or to Niche. So if someone put in a very bad review, it's a bad review. It's like Yelp. We can't do anything.
No, well, no, and but I always think about, especially as parents looking at schools, the
Absolutely.
word of mouth
Reviews
piece
are
is
important.
so important. That's why I wanted to know where it was coming from. So that's great. And then when you look at the data that's in here, is there a way for us to push that data out to our school sites, or are we pulling, because there's so much, when you drill down to the school level, if we think about each school's website to have that information even available, is that able to be pushed to them?
So what we can do is we can take that information and put links on their website to niche information, which would drive them to all that data and show them, get them there quickly. Instead of trying to recreate the whole wheel, maybe we click here for niche data and keep putting the word of mouth out through social that this is where this is happening. And because that's data, when we populate our website, we have the control to write stuff we want.
Right.
This is third party, so this is the real deal. This is like someone else telling you how good you are based on data they see someplace else.
Got it. No, I just love the data pieces, and I think they're really valuable even at the school level. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Craig.
Perfect, thank you all.
I also wanted to just briefly hear a couple sentences from the Department of Education. We just received this on October the 21st, and this came from Commissioner Diaz. It says Sarasota County Schools has been designated as an academically high-performing school district for the 21-22 school year. So congratulations to everyone. At this point in time, I do want to recognize our principals. And last month was National Principals Month in October. And so I wanted to recognize them now. I know last month we had the hurricane, and even at the last board meeting, we had hurricane-related items that we brought up. And so this is really the first opportunity we've ever bring the principals here. They're all not here today. They couldn't all be here. They have things going on at their schools as well. But in just a moment, I'm going to want them to come up in front here so we can get a picture. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of our principals. They've been just amazing people, gracious, wonderful coworkers, colleagues. Just love working with all of you. You do such a fantastic job. You're very dedicated. You're passionate about what you do. You exemplify servant leadership in your school and around your community. And even, with the hurricane and COVID and all those external things that come your way, you're still able to take that and make lemonade out of lemons, so to speak, and help your students and your families to be successful. And so I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you all do, especially just recently in the shelters, because I know we had 14 shelters, but all of you were leading those shelters and helping those folks in the shelters. So thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do, and I know your communities and your students and your parents do as well. So thank you all so, so very much. So it's kind of hard for me to see out there who's where. I'm going to go down the list by school, and when I do, if you can come up here and just make a semicircle right along here, and then we'll take a picture. And I have a neat little Sarasota coin to give to you as well. First of all, Alta Vista Elementary School, Dr. Mindy Long, not here. Ashton Elementary, Christy Jarvis. Atwater Elementary, Cindy Thoreau. Bayhaven Basics Plus, Chad Erickson. Booker High School, Dr. Rachel Shelley. Booker Middle School, Dr. LaShawn Frost. Brentwood Elementary, John Wida. Brookside Middle School, Ryan Chase. Cranberry Elementary, Brad Pornichek. Emma E. Booker, Cameron Parker. Nope. Englewood, Curtis Schwartz. Fruitville Elementary, Stephen Dusty French. Garden Elementary, Amy Archer. Glen Allen Elementary, Becky Drum. Gulf Gate Elementary, Michelle Miller. Heron Creek Middle School, Christine Lawrence. Lakeview Elementary, Lisa Wheatley. Lamarck Elementary, Troy Thompson. Laurel Nokomis, Ray Wilson. McIntosh Middle, McHenry Larabors. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting there. Oak Park, no, Northport High School, Shannon Fusco, but let's see, Linda Copeland is here in place of Shannon today. Linda is an assistant principal at Northport High School. Thank you for being here. Oak Park, Jamie Lowitz. Philippi Shores Elementary, Holly Staley. Pineview School, Dr. Stephen Covert. Let's see, Riverview High, Aaron Del Castillo.
Mel Ritter from Triad.
Sarasota High School, David Jones could not be here, so Michelle Anderson. Michelle is assistant principal at Sarasota High School. Sarasota Middle School, Jennifer Enzeza. Southside Elementary, Jamie Hannon. Suncoast Polytech High, Jack Turgeon. Tatum Ridge Elementary, Barry Dunn. Taylor Ranch Elementary, Tara Spielman. Toledo Blade Elementary, Jennifer Dulciotto. Triad, Melanie Ritter. Tuttle Elementary, Dr. Patty Felino. Venice Elementary, Dr. Kirk Hutchinson. Venice High School, Zoli Karesley. Venice Middle School, Tomas DeVerno. Wilkinson Elementary, Susan Nations. And Woodland Middle School, Mark Grossenbacher. Not here. All right, so those are our principals at all of our schools, and hopefully I didn't miss anyone. No, good. All right, we're going to get a picture, and I'm going to bring you these tokens.
You guys might need to do a couple rows here.
Yeah, we need to do 2 rows, maybe.
Get close. Get close. Front center. Front center.
Todd was here.
You don't want the back of his head?
You have to wait. You just have to wait.
And as we always say, if you can't see me, I can't see you, right? So, Dr. Ashley, I'm squeezing maybe behind.
Yay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you again. And the very last thing is I just want everybody to know what's coming up at the next work session in case anyone would like to attend. Our next work session is November the 8th, and our topics are Circus Arts Conservatory, construction updates, the new Lorraine Road K-8, and Gocio building replacement, repair and damage and repair update, the capital improvement plan, insurance regarding repairs, also the Municipal Bonds 101 on overview of debt financing for our new schools, SSIS charter school presentation, career pathways, social studies adoption update, general committees conversation, school board meeting calendar, school district calendar, vouchers. So that's those are all of our topics, and hopefully we'll get all those in one day. So, and again, that's on November the 8th, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Asplin. Next up, we have a hearing of citizens on agenda items. At this point in time, Mr. Edwards will call you forward to the podium where you will have 2 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. Make sure that you address the board, not the audience, that the comments are relevant, not abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, or disorderly, and any unlawful disruption or interference with a school board meeting and any such action may result in a misdemeanor or offense of the second degree at the discretion of the presiding officer, which is me. At this business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner and meeting, we humbly ask that you act as you were taught as a child, be respectful of others, and treat them as you would want to be treated. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we will listen with open minds and open hearts to your comments. We respect your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and as a citizen of this great country, you must understand that your rights are not absolute. So you are free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights comes responsibilities. And so we begin. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marjorie Peter and Carol Rosiglio on deck.
Good evening. My name's Marjorie Peter. I've been a resident of the county since '87 and have had 3 boys graduate from the county school system. The agenda item I'm talking about tonight is number 10, because that is where the Patterson Foundation is approaching the school board with an agreement to help with early childhood learning. And to me, this is the real ticket to closing the achievement gap that has been referenced in these meetings before, and with the reading scores that unfortunately took a tumble during COVID. As I read the document, it appears to want to add new vocabulary words for the kids, to engage them in conversations about the stories they just read. When I was volunteering in the schools, I found that sometimes the comprehension really wasn't there. They could listen, but not really understand. And so this would be great to start the kids at an early level thinking about what they've learned and be able to respond to a question. My reason for addressing this is not only to urge the board to approve this agreement, but to get a little assurance that it won't be stalled, because there is a reference that they might need new texts, new books. And these are recommendations for the success of this program, and my fear is that there might be problems with getting certain books approved, because I think some teachers can't even get books in their room where they had private libraries purchased yet. So I urge the board to adopt the program and to try to get something streamlined for the approval of books that would get these books into the hands of the students who need them the most. Thank you.
Jennifer Cottrell on deck.
Hi, I'm Carol Rosigno, a Sarasota taxpayer, and as the head of the Sarasota chapter of Brady United Against Gun Violence, someone who tries really hard to keep our citizens safe. I'm speaking to number 30 on the agenda, policy 314 on suicide prevention. I've been very impressed with this district's hard work to ensure the safety of its students. And I want to stress that guns should always be a part of the conversation when young people are deemed to be at risk of committing suicide. From 2011 to 2020, close to 15,000 children aged 5 to 17 died by suicide in the U.S., approximately 4 deaths a day. Over 40% involved a firearm, and the great majority of those came from the victim's home or the home of a relative. Today, 40% of U.S. households with children contain firearms. That means around 30 million kids. 5 million live in homes where at least one firearm is loaded and unlocked. This risk can be reduced by storing guns locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. Use a gun safe. Don't post or share the code with your child of any age. Do not assume that a child of any age will heed your cautions to stay away from guns. In a recent study, more than a third of children in homes with guns said they could get their hands on a loaded firearm in under 5 minutes, and 50% said they could do it within an hour. Even in homes where guns were locked up, a quarter of adolescents said they could find and fire a loaded gun within 5 minutes. Smart kids. You can prevent these suicides by removing guns from your home if you learn your child is at risk, which is this program. At the least, you can lock up your guns. I'm not sure there's a person in this room who does not want to protect their children. Thank you for this program. I hope you renew it. If guns are not part of the conversation, make them a part of it. Thank you.
Nivea Vega Clausen on deck.
Good evening, Jennifer Cottrell. I believe it's line item number 32 on the agenda, the superintendent's evaluation. Let me just start off and say that I've been in the corporate world for over 30 years, worked for several Fortune 500 companies, and I've never seen an evaluation that would pass muster in the corporate world like this one. How you can go from having 15 strategic plan metrics and you meet 8 out of 15 goals. 7 of those you did not meet, which is like a 53%, if my math is correct. You might want to check it, though. And that is equivalent to a highly effective overall rating. That would not fly in the corporate world at all. That would pretty much equate to you'd be lucky to be effective if you met 53% of your goals. This is a waste of taxpayers' money because I'm assuming that his evaluation is tied to his bonus and his increase. Then you kind of look at some of these people, you know, you look at the comments, and some have highly effective all the way down, but didn't take the time to make any comments on why they felt it was highly effective. The comment sections are blank. I just think this is really a slap in the face, a waste of taxpayers' money, and at this point, you're all way off course.
Alexis Spiegelman on deck.
Nivea Vega Clausen, Moms for Liberty, and former Florida high school English teacher and Spanish teacher. I'd like to comment on item 10. I'm neither for or against. Specifically, the item 10 is tied to strategic plan goal 1, which is to accelerate growth. And one of the 3 key metrics under that was to increase grade 3 ELA proficiency from 68 to 69%. Though the strategy that was referenced was around experiential learning, I could not find any data or correlation to show specifically how this will improve ELA outcomes. So I would love to see what the connection is there. According to the letter of agreement, the arts integration specialist, Jessica, from Wholehearted Artists will demonstrate 45 to 50-minute lessons in each classroom on a weekly basis. Teachers would be part of a cohort, and they would be active participants in the demonstration, and then Jessica would do 45 minutes each week to plan for implementation with in between demonstration visits. I think we can all agree this is a pretty strong commitment of time for our teachers and students. Given the fact that around 30% of our students are not proficient in English language arts standards, my question is, what is the research that was presented to the district and to this board to support that the Wholehearted Artist program will improve ELA proficiency? I couldn't find any research. I Googled as much as I could, and I would imagine if there was any research, it would have been referenced in the agreement. So I want to be clear, no issues at all with this particular program. My concern is really that just taking 50 minutes a week for every week of class time, along with another 50 minutes a week for teachers to meet with Jessica, is a lot of time. What was taken out of the learning data focus on an unproven program meant to improve ELA? And with the many demands on teachers' professional development time, does that affect time that they would have had for ELA or math? So more broadly, are we choosing programs across the board that you are presented with efficacy that they actually work?
Thank you. Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Good evening, members of the board. Alexis Spiegelman, Sarasota County Moms for Liberty Chapter Chair. First, I just want to say the number of parallels between Superintendent Asplin and Superintendent Bowden are striking. Both were brought to us by the FSBA. Both have had subpar reviews and subsequent raises. Hopefully, and both were less than transparent about some of the projects they were working on. Maybe this will change with the new board. Agenda item 10, are teacher artists held to the same ethical standards as licensed teachers? It appears that some of them are not licensed teachers, some of the people that are part of this program, and some of them are not licensed mental health counselors. While some of them may hold degrees in counseling, they're not licensed from what we could tell. Can you help me understand how the district believes that it's in the best interest of our youngest students to have unlicensed teacher artists shaping our youngest students' emotional intelligence? When I read the description on the bottom of page 2 of some of the activities, it became concerning to me because I am concerned about the corruption of SEL and how it negatively impacts children when used in the way that it's being used these days. So I would like to see and hope that you will become a little bit more transparent with what you'll actually be doing in these exercises and how they align to the state standards beyond just saying that they've been vetted by the district. We'd like a little bit more specifics, and if you could post these things on our website, the district website, I think it will really go a long way to reestablishing some trust. Thank you.
I guess number 10 is popular tonight. I wanted to talk about, starting on page 2, it states adding more pre-K classrooms, but it does not identify how many. What is an art integration specialist? Where's the job description? It states this person will give 45 to 50-minute lessons on a weekly basis. What is the curriculum? Under the project timeline, go to program manager evaluation. What data collecting tools are we implementing? Under supporting materials, additional materials and selected books will be distributed. Are stakeholders going to get to see these materials? Under timeline, go to week 3 to 8 focus. It states social and emotional development domain. I'm confused. Is Patterson Foundation involved in any CASEL programming through its foundation? The wording here is very, very similar to the CASEL cell programming called Second Step on CASEL website. Dr. Asplin, are we allowing a third party to embed a CASEL cell new program through our pre-K classes? Is Suncoast grade level reading campaign involved in CASEL programming? Dr. Asplin, you still have not clarified the SCL programs you have implemented are CASEL accredited, which then requires a survey to collect data. Is Panorama or any other program involved in the data collecting tools of this memorandum? Stakeholders need to be aware we already have an incident with a kindergarten teacher conducting circle time during SCL, asking if these 5-year-olds are hearing voices. This district needs to distance themselves from CASEL in all contracts and relationships. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes general comments.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. And next up, we have our consent agenda. Dr. Asplin, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. An addendum was added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report, and also the board members' evaluations were added to item number 32, superintendent evaluation.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda as amended?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Please vote.
I have a
Oh,
request.
Karen Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion that agenda item number 10, approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Patterson Foundation and the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida, be moved to new business, please.
Second.
Mrs. Ziegler, do you have some discussion?
No, actually, just follow that lead.
Does anyone have any discussion? I will not be supporting this, and I really find it difficult as to why we always wait until the last minute to change and move things around. And you know that. So let's, Mrs. Ziegler.
Now I have a comment. I appreciate that frustration. However, I think it's equally frustrating that when we have certain areas of concerns and questions, and quite frankly, I think it's important, our job, whether community members of all sorts, whether you feel is valid or not, or any of us individually, to take those concerns with merit and to respond accordingly. That does not diminish your ability to continue to vote for that. It's just merely the ability to recognize that there is a concern.
Any other discussion? We'll have a voice vote. All those in favor of moving this to new business, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Nay.
Point of order.
Mr. Edwards, did you have something to say?
Point of order, I think that was more procedural. I think we've historically noted that we, and any individually elected board members can certainly move an item from.
Well, we know that, but it's always done, and it's a discourteous manner. Then which it's done because there's plenty of time to move it, and I have no problem with the issue. But we have taken another voice vote just to make sure. Mrs. Brown, how did you vote? Mrs. Brown? Sorry. Did you vote, would you please signify, did you vote, how do you vote? Because I didn't hear everyone's vote. Did you not vote?
I will go ahead and move this just so that we don't show up on the transparency page again, that we don't care. Next month, God bless you, do whatever you want with the agenda. It's supposed to be the superintendent's agenda. We get the information ahead of time. We can move it ahead of time. You will see the problems that you create when you're running the meeting. And have at it.
So you vote aye, is that correct? Mrs. Ziegler?
I'm sorry, point of clarification. We are now voting on the amended agenda.
Yes, we
consent?
are voting on, I couldn't hear.
Okay, so for clarity, on the amendment for the consent agenda, I voted aye, just to make sure we're on the
I
amendment.
voted nay. Mr. Edwards?
Nay.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
So the motion carries and it is now moved to the end of the agenda, the new business agenda. So let's go back now to the amended agenda, shall we? Such fun we're having. Please vote online. Refresh, please. And the motion carries unanimously. Next up, we have new business. And this is item number 29. May I have a motion, please?
I will make a motion again, and hopefully people will learn how to do this before we leave. Item 29, I move that the attached list of vendors for the anticipated purchase of materials and services exempt from the bidding process be approved as presented. Final financial impact not to exceed $60,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
No, real quick.
Bridget Ziegler.
Thank you, Dr. Asplin. I know that they're just, especially when we talk about third-party evaluation, third parties in general have been an ongoing question. Can you just provide some clarity as to this particular vendor and what they'll be doing?
Yes, this particular vendor allows our students to write, and then we send those, their documents to Write Score, this third-party vendor, and they have folks there who grade that based on FSA trained. They are FSA trained folks who read documents and then send them back to the teachers so that the teachers can see how a third party with that background would have graded that compared to how they grade them as a teacher, so they can compare and help the students with different things like elaboration and main idea, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. Bringing up the next item, which is item number 30. May I have a motion, please?
Number 30, under recommendation, I move that the advertisement of the revised school board policy 3.14, suicide prevention, be approved as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to thank the woman who spoke and gave us some of the data on that.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. Just again, for clarification, are these statutorily changes, Dr. Aspen? I think the clarity for the public, I know it's been an amendment, and then there's another revised, but then there's the procedural aspect, so.
Right. That particular one has a paragraph at the bottom there that is, you can see it's been a strike through. And that strike through, I think, is to make it more clear.
And I just want to add, thank you so much. I appreciate on this one that we actually included the procedures, particularly from the workflow standpoint. I think that was very helpful for the public.
Please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. Item number 31. Okay.
If I could ask Jason Overbay to come forward. And I know you have a few slides to present on this one, Jason, if you could do that, please.
Should we move the motion to put it in posture for discussion, or wait until he speaks?
Yes, let's do that.
Go ahead.
I move the approval of the board acknowledgement of the completion of the Safe Schools. I ran out of my room here. Sorry. Safe Schools assessment.
Good evening, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the board. We're here today to talk about our statutorily required Florida Safe Schools assessment, the Safe Schools risk assessment that all schools had to do this year. We opened it up this year to administrators. It's the first time that we've done that. It has gone extremely well. If I could get the PowerPoint up, I can do it by memory. As required from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas law that passed in 2018, we are required to, in an open forum, discuss the school safety findings from the FSAT. This year, a lot of what we are using inside the FSAT is tied to grant funding. As we have discussed in the past, grant funding from the state of Florida has dropped significantly in the last 4 years. This year, they've cut us in half from $660,000 that we received last year and some change to under $330,000 this year. So it'll be even more important for us to put our biggest needs up for the state to assist in the hardening grant. We won't go into the different parts of the assessment. We will discuss that perimeter fencing was completed prior to Ian. We are reevaluating all perimeter fencing now after Ian. We have finished single point of entry at almost all the schools that were designed for that. Access control is something that we will be continuing on for years and years to come. We have gotten access control on all front and rear exit doors, and now we are working on exterior entrances and gates. Access control is a very important aspect of our school safety. We have finished upgrading all the lockdown systems, including intercoms, to give mass notification systems inside the schools. Not sure which one's feeding back. Oh, all right. I won't say it. Safe corner signage is complete, and now we're reviewing the placement of all safe corner signs. The school design guidelines have been submitted to the construction department, and we'll be working on those as they continue to talk about the new buildings. We do have school resource officers on every campus. We are now required to make sure that all charters also follow that rule for safe school officers or guardians. And we are putting together a process to make sure that there's always someone on each campus for charter schools as well. The implementation of the Raptor emergency button has gone well. Lockdown notifications for all employees. We have completed all of the Alyssa's alert requirements that the state requires. We are now in the progress of working with our intercom vendor and Raptor to integrate the two systems together, as security integration is becoming our most important thing that we do. Every staff member now has a right to put the school in lockdown. We are continuing putting lockdown buttons in every classroom. We do meet state statute on the Fortify Florida program. We have established threat assessment teams at every school. They meet monthly as required by law. And we have managed to get everyone trained within the first 90 days under the CSTAG requirements. We are working with support services on the mental health to make sure we meet the July 2023 80% requirement, and that is going well. I heard from Ms. Megan Taylor today that we were close to just over 60%. As our findings are that Sarasota continues to meet or exceed the best practice thresholds in all categories that the school safety risk assessment tracks. We have taken on the motto of lead, never follow. Most of our programs and procedures are top of the line. We are continuing to improve school electronic and physical security infrastructure. We're continuing our efforts in youth mental health. We're pursuing funding for hardening of schools. We are working on active shooter training and drills with law enforcement partners. We have improved communication within our schools with emergency responders. You, as a board, passed our reunification policy last year, and we are training that out at all schools. We are putting together a district team to also be able to come in and take over those situations should the unthinkable occur. We are working with the safety teams to expand their role on school campuses, ongoing training with the Raptor Emergency Management Suite, improving signage for schools on how to get to the office and make sure that they're following all the rules. And we are using hardening money to improve our emergency radio strength for law enforcement and fire in all of the schools. So we're doing a good job, and we are continuing to look at what the challenges of the future hold, and we're moving us in those directions so that we're always ahead of the curve. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
We didn't have a second on the motion, so I second it.
Thank you for that. I was going to open up for discussion and call him forward after the second, but at any rate, did you have any other questions, Mr. Edwards?
No, Madam Chair.
Mrs. Brown?
I have a question on the vetting of all visitors. What does that entail?
So we require, as part of school district policy, we have Raptor inside every school. We require all visitors to present a driver's license when they come into school. The driver's license is then run through the system. Raptor uses Watchdog, which checks the license against every state sexual predator watch list. So then if they come back clear, then we can let them in to the campus. We don't check for wants or warrants for just for visitors.
And they get a visitor pass, so everyone on campus should either have a visitor pass or a school ID?
Yes, ma'am. So we have instituted an identification program for students, for volunteers, level 2 volunteers, and all visitors should always have a Raptor badge when they're on campus. They should not be on campus without some type of badge saying that they've been checked in through the front office.
Are parents considered visitors?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, is that a district policy, or is that something the state is requiring?
It's a district policy.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Well, thank you, and I wanted to highlight the second, but also I wanted to thank you to you and your team. I know that we heard overwhelming praise and graciousness from the response at Riverview, and as horrible as that moment was, I know there was a great collaboration between the Sheriff's Office and the PD department. I just want to take a moment to say thank you very much for that.
Well, I want to thank all of you for the wonderful job you do, because I think you're, do a marvelous job. I think that we are a leader in the state in terms of what we're doing, how we're doing it, the protocols we use, the safety we use, the hardening of our schools. And, we talk about parents walking their children to school every day. That doesn't work. It's against our policy, which states that we don't allow that. We have, at certain schools, I've talked to various principals in the audience who have allowed at the beginning of the year kindergarten and first graders to be walked to class for a couple of days as school began, but then it stopped, because what the principals have said to me, and it's very true, is when the bell rings, instruction begins. So I think that explains why we have the policy that we have, and there's been an awful lot of discussion about that. There's been a lot of discussion about that on Facebook, and I think we need to state that unequivocally you have to change the policy if that is in effect what you want to do, and then what goes afoul after that, because that would make it very difficult to know what's happening in the schools, and it would really cause some problems for teachers. Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. I'm sorry I remiss that. This is not the necessarily appropriate time I would think of responding, but given this topic has come up as it pertains to parents walking their children to school. I know it's been a hot topic, a regular conversation across the district. I know the superintendent and I have also spoken about it. I apologize, I don't have the policy number. I believe it was like 9.6, and that it certainly does inquire that, as referenced here, and it was adopted in 2018. And in my mind, in this conversation, not the appropriate time right now, but looking forward, and to anyone listening, that there is a remedy in which we can secure the privacy, the security aspect, we can ensure the staff and being respectful of that time, and we can also support our families. And so I look forward to that solution in a very near upcoming meeting.
Mrs. Brown.
I too want to thank you. I'm really, really proud of how the programs that we put in place to keep our students safe. And I support parents being included and parents being checked, and so that we all know who belongs on campus if they've got a badge, they belong on campus. They've been approved, because I want to make sure that everyone on our campus has been there, because I know in my years here that there have been parents, for one reason or another, background or whatever, or actions that had been taken. I remember at one school there was a man who was watching the girls at cheerleading. He didn't have a child at that school, but he was there watching those girls. And so he ended up being, no, wait a minute, we have to watch this guy when he comes onto our campus. Sometimes there are reasons to keep someone off a campus. If they've been arrested, for violent actions, we may not want that person on our campus. And there's been several instances that I know that a parent, for good reason, because of threats that were made against an employee, were kept off of a campus. So I think that we still need to follow our safety regulations. And I think as parents understand that they want their children safe, and that parents too will go follow through that and submit their driver's license and get the badge so that they can be there. And so everyone knows that they belong there, they're safe. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes, I just want to comment on the ominous warning about an upcoming meeting about a policy change and remedies that might affect the policy regarding, pardon? But I was curious as if there are remedies and ideas and suggestions. As a fellow board member, I'd love to know about them in advance so that we could consider them respectfully. Because at the end of the day, as one of the school board members who has shown up at every swearing in of our SROs, student safety is key and essential to me. So it's been a topic of discourse, and so if there are ideas and suggestions, I'd love to hear them in a positive way, not an ominous way.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Happy to. The workshop, and that's why I wanted to say that this was not necessarily the time. I wasn't looking at presenting it right now. I know it's been brought up a couple of different times by other board members, and I wanted to highlight to people who are listening, and I look forward to bringing those solutions forward in a workshop setting, to be fair to all of my colleagues, and talk about addressing the security aspect, the staff respect standpoint, and making sure they are able to manage the environment at their school site, as well as ensuring that we're messaging to our families that we're engaging and we can find all those solutions together. So I look forward to that.
Any other discussion? Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, both the meeting that we had privately as well as today, and I think we are on the right track, and I do appreciate all the efforts that our police department is putting in, our safety and security, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think we're ready to vote. Hearing no other discussion, please vote now. And the motion carries unanimously. Up next in new business, we have item number 32, which is the evaluation of our superintendent's performance for the 2021-2022 school year. What I'd like to recommend is that we start out with some discussion, and based on that discussion from every school board member, then we have a motion and a second after that, if that is amenable to everyone. Okay. All of you have your evaluation summary included in your packet. And volunteers, or we can go right down the line, whatever you'd like to do in terms of who'd like to kick this thing off.
I have to go to the ladies, maybe you could start on the other.
All right, Mrs. Ziegler, you want to start?
Certainly. Well, I'll first start with, I will say that anytime in the public forum being evaluated is not necessarily the most comfortable aspect. And so I appreciate Dr. Asplin and his grace in this moment. I will say that I personally take a lot of, I put a lot of weight into the evaluation and the seriousness of it, because I recognize that whoever sit in that seat, that the superintendent's position is incredibly instrumental to the direction and the success of our mission, which is academic excellence for all children. And as I mentioned, this is conversations that we've had over the course of a year plus. So many of this was not necessarily new. I will say that I know the first year he came in, and what I cannot imagine was more of an extraordinary, exceptional year when you're coming in after a somewhat disruptive departure of our prior superintendent. We had an excellent interim in that meantime, but then we were also hit with a global pandemic and all sorts of nuances trying to navigate that. And so I think that going back to that conversation and those conversations, there was a lot of grace, but there was a lot of rightfully so support in trying to navigate that. I know in that time, some of my concerns I did raise at that moment, but a lot of it comes down to the communication components. And some of these are external variables that may in fact not be directly related, but when it comes down to being able to unify, try to find solutions, and to ensure the opportunities for us to move forward, I think that Dr. Asplin comes forward with a very good moral compass. I don't diminish how challenging it is to probably be a superintendent on this particular board. And so I did highlight that quite a bit in the evaluation. I think that from a fiscal stewardship standpoint, I think he's done a tremendous job. I know that there's been a lot of strategies to focus, and especially as it comes down to the school level and leaning in on our staff to have PLCs and what have you, and being very strategic and thoughtful in mind. So I think there's a lot to be success and to praise, but I do believe there's opportunity for improvement. And as mentioned, I know that, my take, and having worked in the private sector for quite some time, evaluations, at least in that space, it's oftentimes you tend to see much more effective or needs improvement. The natural bell curve of any kind of institution is typically significantly different than what I think we find in education. And so sometimes I think the needs improvement takes people back. I look at it as an opportunity, and that's what merely my evaluation speaks to in those areas, and those also highlights some other areas where I think that due credit is due. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Ms. Ziegler. Mr. Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I stated last year when we went through this process with Dr. Asplin, I am highly uncomfortable having a public evaluation. I meet with the superintendent, much like everyone here, on an ongoing basis, and if I have issues of needs improvement or good job, attaboy, I share them privately as any one of us would normally have in an evaluation. So I won't be publicly evaluating, and that's why there are no comments. So that's number one. Number two, we often get ourselves in situations here on the dais after public comments where it becomes a big downer, for lack of a better word. Public comments, frankly, have become a downer, and it's a downer to our staff, our faculty, our principals. It's a downer to our students after they've performed or they've showed their academic excellence. It's a big downer. And so the last thing that I would want to point out is that from my perspective, all of us have been elected because of our individual backgrounds as a collaboration to a superintendent who has probably the most and best credentials of anyone sitting on this dais. So I defer to those credentials. I defer to those academic, quite frankly, brilliance that he's demonstrated. And my background, of which I think I was elected for, was business, and I bring business acumen to those discussions. And we have highly effective conversations and interchange on where my acumen and Dr. Asplin's academic achievements make a really good mesh. And that's as much as I'd like to share about the evaluation. I think he's doing an outstanding job as per the ratings that I gave him. So, Dr. Asplin, you heard it here.
Who'd like to go next? Mrs. Rose, you want?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. My evaluation stands at face value, really focusing in on data and my love for seeing it move, focusing in on ESE and grade 3 reading, budgets and things that I've mentioned. I do respect the accomplishments that have been made across our schools and the challenges that have come with that. And I also respect the individual evaluations of every board member. And all said and done, I have landed with an effective and feel very comfortable with that. And thank you for the opportunity to share. Everything is on our public system on Novus. Not only the accomplishments that Dr. Asplin has made, but the pieces that I have spent 2 years focusing in on in our one-on-one meetings and stating regularly on the dais. So thank you.
Mrs. Brown?
I rated Dr. Asplin highly effective. Not only did he come here when our district was in a bit of disarray, also he had to deal with COVID and a hurricane. I actually was wavering on effective or highly effective on a couple of these until I saw how we acted in that hurricane. And I went back and changed. There were times, like Mr. Edwards has said, I didn't agree with him. Like I thought he was taking down too many signs and wasn't giving enough deference to me on this or that. And he explained to me why he made those decisions. And I had to agree with him. I think it's those times that we can discuss. And boy, there was a time we disagreed, wasn't there? We disagreed on the front page of the paper one time. But we worked through that and came out. But the thing that I think that takes us above all of those differences that we may have had, working out how things should be and things worked and the operations through that hurricane and all that other things, what you did with taking our district from here to here, and I know the plans that you've put in place, if they are allowed to formulate and grow, will grow these scores with us. One of the reasons you were brought here is because you were with the number one district. And some of those things that you had there, that co-teaching that you did, the concurrent teaching where the teachers work together. And now we've been training the teachers on how that's going to work and how that's going to help them. I think we'll continue to take our district higher. And the pre-K program that you put in, because how many people stood here and spoke about the bad third grade reading scores? I mean, we've got things in there. And I know, I just am flabbergasted that we have people who actually complain about these services or the foundations that reach out and help our district to move forward. I don't understand that. And you've had to work with them and smooth over some of those feelings. And I hope you continue to do that. And I know that when you started, you wanted us to work with a FSBA, boardsmanship training, the master board training, which I know would help us all understand where we are and how better to work with you and you work with them so you have a better understanding of what it is that's expected of, because there's 5 board members and a superintendent. That's 6 people working together. And the superintendent has to take our issues and our feelings and take them to his cabinet, who takes them to the principals and on down. And there has to be a clear message that's given to our superintendent. The superintendent comes to us with an agenda, and it is the superintendent's agenda that comes to us, not ours, and we vote on it. We have to understand that. And I hope with the new board that's coming on, that they take your advice and try to work on that master board training, and try to learn how to work better together as a team, because we are a team, and you are leading a team that is going to take us to the next level, that is going to make us competitive for that number 1 spot. You're giving us the tools to get there. I hope that our board, or the new board, will allow you to continue in that progress. That's why I gave you highly effective. I like your direction.
Thank you. I also gave the superintendent highly effective. You know, this is a pretty comprehensive, this is almost what I would normally refer to as picking the wings off of a fly. There's an awful lot of moving parts in this evaluation. If you look at the sample evidence and things that are a part of this, but I only gave him effective in 2 areas: organizational management, which is in progress, is developing, and human resource management, which is changing, and we have a new person who's doing a great job there who's working on that. But those things are going to take some time to evolve. The organizational part is going to take some time for the data to bubble up. So those are the reasons why. And I really think that he and I discussed what were the most important things: leadership and standard culture, instructional leadership, curriculum planning and development. And he gets, 5 stars for me on those. I know that we only adopted a strategic plan last year, but he came in the middle of the pandemic, and we had a lot of issues and a lot of moving parts going on in the school district. He is a sincerely kind, generous, and a wonderful man, that means a lot to this community. And he had to do some convincing in this community when he came in, because we had had some damage done, and we didn't want that to continue. I think the fact that we passed the referendum by almost 85% is acknowledgement of the community believing in what we're doing at the school district and what he's doing as a superintendent. And those videos on the move that Craig does, people see those all the time, and they really like them, and they have really enjoyed. That's a great get for you, Craig. Put that in your evaluation. But that's been a really a powerful thing, because people can see a clip or a part of that and move on. But I think some of the things that we have done, our fiscal stewardship has always been great. It was great with Missy. It's going to be great. It is great with Bonnie. But I think we are a district. I mean, I look around, I see people, I visit with people in other districts all over the state of Florida, big districts, medium-sized districts as we are, and small districts. And we're right there. We're at the top of the heap. And it's because of the tone our superintendent is setting. It's because of our staff here at the landings, and our staff, our principals in the schools, and our teachers, and our volunteers, and our students and their families, and all of those things that make up the culture that is Sarasota County. And, St. Johns County is a wonderful county, and I love visiting. My dearest friend lives there. But it's quite different in certain ways. The arts and some other things, quite different from Sarasota. but we always want to academically, beat St. Johns County. And that's really not an easy thing to do. But I think that we are on the right track. This board has had a bit of dysfunction, and that's difficult for him, I think, to work with 5 board members. We haven't pulled together. We haven't done a lot of teamwork and team building, and I have great hope that the new board that's coming in at the end of November will work well together, will do those things that we haven't been able to do. But I believe that, he deserves a highly effective evaluation. And I want to now call on Dr. Asplin to say a few things, and then I'd like for Denise to come up and talk to us about the sum of the evaluation.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to say thank you to each of you for the evaluations. I know it's difficult to put those together, and I do appreciate it. I want to say that I do appreciate working with you as well, because you all have a unique strengths. And as Mr. Edwards just mentioned, business world, I know with Ms. Ziegler, risk management and contracts and so forth, and Ms. Rose coming out of the education system. Ms. Goodwin, you've been doing this a long time and have been involved with FSBA and with our school district here as a board member for a long time, among many other things. And Shirley, I know that you were in the legislature. You bring a lot of that here. So there's different strengths that you all bring. And I think that's fantastic. At the same time, that's difficult. If I can say that is difficult, because getting together in one-on-ones and talking about an issue, you get 5 different ways of looking at something. And then you have to try and pull all that together into something that hopefully everyone will like, but it's just never going to happen. And you just know that, and then put it together so it's best for what's best for the students. And that's the bottom line. And I know all of our educators out here know that they do that every day too. It's all about the students at the end of the day when you make your decisions. So I do appreciate that. And you all know as well, I believe, that I'm always looking for areas to improve. That's just who I've always been. And I think any of our great leaders out here do that as you go through your career. How can I improve to help our students and help our school system? And I appreciate the time you spent pointing out all the successes. I really do. And also the areas of opportunity, because we all have areas of opportunity that we need to work on. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I was a little disappointed with the number of needs improvements on there. And I think I do want to talk about some of those because, as been said already, this is a public forum, and you're basically laying your whole life out in front of the world. And when that happens, you want to be able to speak to some of the areas that maybe need improvement. Not that I'm shunning away from any of it, but just I need to make sure I understand it and then also bring further information. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just hit the needs improvement areas, and I just want to give you my 2 cents on some of these. And so I know that this one was needs improvement, I should say from Karen. And the first needs improvement was in leadership culture. And I know your comments, Karen, had to do with the explanation of state requirements for charter education not fully explained to all community members. And
Character education.
Character education, what did I say?
Charter.
Oh, charter. Character education. We can talk about charter later. But in doing so, what I do want to make sure everybody understands is I thought, September 4th during the board meeting, I really talked a lot about that from a state law requirement so that everybody could understand where the character education piece was coming from that requirement, that state requirement. Not that they required our program, but it was a state requirement to have character education. And you might want to, people might want to go back to September 4th and take a look at that, and if you really need more explanation there. The choice of programs doesn't have buy-in by all parents. And I know that it's difficult to get buy-in from everybody. It's just not going to happen when you have 70, 80,000 parents and, 44,000 students. You're not going to get buy-in from every single person. But I do want to say that that program, the Character Strong program, I will say that we did pilot it that last year. And it was with 8 schools, and we piloted it, and we evaluated it, we vetted it. We had many discussions about it. And so, when you put that together along with the fact that we did have a workshop about it last year, and we had a board meeting about it. We even participated in an activity in a board meeting. It's not like it was just on a whim, we just put this together and put it out there. I mean, everybody saw it, everybody knew about it. If you were at workshops or at board meetings, you saw it and you knew what it was. And I didn't hear any problems with it then. And I'm not trying to shove anything down anybody's throat, but if I don't hear issues, I can't really do anything about that because I'm thinking everybody likes it. And so we keep moving it forward. And so, one thing I still haven't heard that I need to hear at some point is, what is it that people don't like about Character Strong? What is it? And if a person just says, oh, well, it has SEL in it. Well, you know what? All of the character education programs, even in the law itself, have SEL in them when you look them up. And so it's not about that. It's about, for me, it's about what's wrong with it, because we do talk about we talk about respect, honesty, and so on, responsibility, all those items, and it is in the curriculum. And so I need someone to tell me what it is that they don't like about it, so that we can talk about that and figure that out. The next needs improvement was communications, and I know this one was, mental health plan lacks regular feedback from teachers and relies too much on decreasing student discipline numbers. And I want to make something clear there, that the mental health plan has nothing to do with discipline numbers. It's not about that at all. It's not in there at all. That is a plan that goes to Tallahassee and is approved, just like Character Strong went to Tallahassee and was approved. And so I just want to make sure people understand that that's not part of it. Now, do we always want feedback from parents and teachers? Yes, we always want that. And from what I understand from Deb Jackalone, we do have all that feedback that I can give to anybody that would like to see that. Apparent polarization in the school community as reflected in public comment at the school board. There's no visible strategy to engage and unite the community. The polarization in the community, I mean, I thought that we were trying, I know since I've been here, I thought that we were trying to unite, but you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, right? But how do we do that? How do we make sure that that's happening? And I know that when we looked at our logo, working as one for the success of all, I mean, that was right off the bat. Let's bring that forward and move that in. We have all the videos that we just talked about, the superintendent reports, the workshops, the board retreat that we were having, the written communication, meetings with individuals. I've met with many individuals that stand up here at the podium and disagree with everything that we're doing, and I'll invite them in and they'll come in and we'll have conversations so that they understand why we're doing what we're doing. And then meetings with community groups all the time. I'm out there meeting with all different business groups, business leaders, all the different clubs, different community leaders, all the time, just trying to really bring everyone together. And so I'm not sure what else I need to do there, and hopefully you can have more discussion so that I understand what else we need to do there. The next one was instructional leadership needs improvement, and fidelity checks are regularly talked about to monitor strategic plan progress, but data from fidelity checks are not specifically or available to the public. And we have all of this data from our fidelity checks, and I know our principals will tell you we have fidelity checks quite frequently, once every 9 weeks. and they answer a whole lot of questions. And we ask a ton of questions just about the students and what they're doing and how are they moving them forward and how are the programs working, a lot of different questions. We have all of that, but I know it's in here that it's not specific or clear available to the public, and that's because we don't share that. If you want to see it, I'll show it, but I need somebody to tell me they want to see it, and I'll show it. We have one for every single school, but it's not something that we just make available, but we can. It's not that we're hiding anything, and so I just want to make that clear. Implementation of Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 strategies lacks formal feedback from teachers. MTSS process has not reflected significant growth in grade 3. Now remember, MTSS is not a process, it's a framework. MTSS is a framework, and our teachers get together and work through Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 with their students and their families to make sure that they are giving students the right intervention. And Tier 1 is everyone, all students. Tier 2, they need an intervention. Tier 3, more of an intensive intervention. And so the teachers do give feedback. They give feedback to each other because they're working together in their groups when they're talking about MTSS, multi-tiered systems of supports, to help their students. And so that's also part of the PLC piece. So just want to make that clear as well. Needs improvement for values and ethics of leadership. I know this one also says sharing Florida Department of Education character education requirements and clearly aligning to Sarasota County schools would increase understanding. Now, I want everybody to understand, again, September 4th, if you watch the board meeting, you'll see the explanation from a law standpoint. And we did, like I said, conduct activities through workshops and board meetings and so forth. And also our folks, our curriculum folks, aligned every single piece of character strong curriculum with the state standards before they gave it out to the schools. And the schools have that, the teachers have that. Now the schools and the principals, they decide how they're going to utilize that curriculum, but it is aligned with state standards. And then the other piece, addressing all stakeholders with empathy, understanding, and professionalism. I don't know, I thought I did that, but I need more information on that if I'm not doing that. Okay, so that's that one. And then the next one was needs improvement. Ms. Ziegler, leadership and culture was the first one there. And this one, it talks about, I believe in certain communications on the dais, to principals, to parents, and even an opinion article submitted to the Herald caused unnecessary division and gave the apparent superintendent his wading into politics versus seizing the opportunity to, as the county's educational leader. And I want to make sure everybody understands that all I've said since I've been up here is we got to get out of the politics. I am not going to wade into any of the politics, but that was a year ago, and I want to read this because I want everybody to understand where I'm coming from as your superintendent. I think everyone needs to know what I wrote or be reminded what I wrote. And this was a situation that occurred, I think it was last year in 2021. And it was a situation where, and I know Ms. Ziegler, she's on TV quite a bit, but it was something that just didn't sit right with me. And I was getting many, many people emailing me, calling me, comments about what does this mean? I saw Ms. Ziegler on Fox News, and I'm confused. And so out of clarity, I wrote this. And it wasn't to harm her or anything. It was just for clarity purposes, for all of our people to understand. And I wrote, I am disheartened by what, and this was an opinion that went into the Herald. I am disheartened by what has recently been circulating through the state and national news. In multiple instances, there has been the implication that the controversial critical race theory has been taught in Sarasota County schools. Throughout this school year, I've repeatedly addressed numerous CRT-related questions from families, students, employees, and community members in a variety of forums, including 5 public town hall meetings, multiple board meetings, and through many in-person communications. In each circumstance, I clearly stated that our district neither currently teaches nor do we plan to teach critical race theory. And at the time, I was talking about teaching it, and also I didn't put it in here, but I want people to understand it's not in our curriculum. We teach the state standards, it's not in our curriculum, but we don't teach that. There has been a resurgence of these questions over the past week, largely due to the overall national traction regarding the topic of critical race theory, but also in part to a state-issued press release and a recent national media commentary, both of which expressly named our school district as one that teaches critical race theory. The example given was related to a third-party vendor's video through supplemental materials that I promptly blocked upon notification of its existence back in September. Let me be unmistakably clear again. Our school district has not in the past and does not currently teach critical race theory. We support the state standards and follow the directives of the governor and the state education commissioner. Our passionately dedicated 2,700 teachers who do a fantastic job do not indoctrinate our students with personal agendas and opinions regarding political or religious views. In the very rare case that violations may occur, it is quickly addressed. Additionally, you may trust that the Sarasota School District will continue to adhere to the Florida standards and that our school board members have never discussed or created a motion to add critical race theory into the curriculum. Sarasota County Schools, a top-rated, high-performing district, and will continue to thrive and provide a world-class education for our students. We must not create unnecessary noise and obstacles to hinder our attention to the business of education, which is imparting the critical knowledge of reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and the arts. Perpetuating further discussion of a false narrative about our school creates confusion, distrust, divisiveness in the community as we seek to positively educate our children. In Sarasota, we don't just want our students to learn, we want them to think critically, applying their skills and insights to improve their lives and the lives of others. The school district's motto for next year is working as one for the success of all, with the priority in educating our students, supporting our teachers and staff members, and embracing our great Sarasota community. Let's not focus our collective energy on convoluted politics or on creating solutions to issues that don't exist in our school district. Instead, let us concentrate on our valuable efforts on uniting to provide the high-quality education and incredible opportunities that our students richly deserve. That's where I'm coming from. That's my heart. That's what I do. And so when I read that, I don't know what to say. So the next one would be needs improvement, communications, again. And this is, I'm so concerned about the negative impact our attorney's involvement, specifically Mr. DeLeo, is having on our relationship with members of the community, our board, and certain families. And honestly, and Ms. Ziegler, I'm not sure why that one's in there. I think I know what you're trying to say there, but I don't evaluate the attorney. The attorney is hired by the board, fired by the board, managed by the board. That is not my responsibility. Finally, one of my biggest concerns over the past year has been the inconsistent information shared during one-on-ones, only to hear completely different positions from you on the dais. And if I can say what I was saying earlier, there's 5 of you, and I listen to all of you, and there's different opinions. And so when I talk to one of you and I hear what I'm hearing, and I can't talk to you about what the others are saying, I'm not allowed to do that. And so I try to feel for what we need to talk about. And then, yes, sometimes when you're out here, it might be a little bit different because I've talked to 5 people. And I know that you as board members, I get it. You do it too because you'll hear different information between when our one-on-ones happen and our school board meeting happens, to where then you might vote differently or change your mind on something. It just happens because there's 5 or 6 of us trying to pull it all together. And there's no malice there. I'm not trying to do anything there. I'm just trying to listen and pull it all together, and then hopefully allow you all to vote on whatever comes forward and do that. And then the next one was, let's see, the referendum. I know that I understand and I agree we need to put information out about the referendum dollars, of what it looks like with our dollars and what it looks like without our dollars. I know we need to do that. I know that when we were having conversations with different groups before the referendum, we did share every single thing with them as to what the referendum was purchasing. But I know what you're saying here is that you want to know what it's purchasing now and then what it would be without those dollars, so we can plan properly. So I get that. Needs improvement, human resources. We've talked about that a little bit. I know you said that we need more. You normally don't say that we need more central office positions in HR. You're saying that we do. I agree 100%. And then a new HR platform. I know we've been talking about that for quite a while, and I agree with that. Instructional leadership was a needs improvement. And that is effectiveness in reading programs, interest in adding additional reading programs, addressing our dyslexic students, but believe this must be one of the highest priorities. I agree. I also believe that the regular updates to the board would be valuable and necessary redirection. And I think I do that, but I understand we need more. But I want to say that also let's not all get confused about programs, okay? It's not about the reading programs as much as what we talk about is efficacy of our teachers and building their toolbox and having them have more and more items to utilize while they're teaching our students, because they have to diagnose what the problem is and teach them properly. And so, you know, for the first time this past year, first time ever here in Sarasota, but in a long, long time in Sarasota, we have a Tier 1 text in ELA, which is benchmarks. And we haven't had that. And so now all of our teachers have benchmarks as their Tier 1 textbook. Also Hegarty, which talks about phonics. That's also Tier 1 across the board. Lit lessons, we have that. Now for 2 and 3, Tiers 2 and 3, intervention and intensive intervention, we started Orton Gillingham. I think we have 90 or more people who are involved in Orton Gillingham training. We've been doing that this year. Also in Tier 2, Tier 3, Wilson, the Wilson programs, which are also very important. We have, I don't know how many, 75 who are being trained in Wilson. And then we have reading recovery. We have 62 people in reading recovery. All of these are not necessarily programs for kids. They are training the teachers to understand how to utilize the different pieces that students might be lacking when they diagnose. And so our reading recovery teachers work with first grade, and they work specifically with them, and they bring that to the table with those first graders. That's what they do. And then Wilson, we want all of our teachers to get that. Orton Gillingham, we want all of them to get that. Hegarty and benchmarks, we do that. So I just want to be clear on what that means so everybody understands that we're building that teacher capacity. And then I think this is the last one. I hope it's the last one. Needs improvement for, let's see, values and ethics. And I know that talks about consistency in what's being communicated to each board member, and we already talked about that. That was from standard number 1. And then also remain concerned about the opt-out requests from families that raise concerns with district character education. I've talked about that. And really, with the opt-out, since that is a required instruction, just like math, English, science, social studies, that's where if a parent doesn't want their child to participate in an activity or something that week, they need to let the teacher know, the principal know, so that they can give them a different activity. But they can't opt out of the entire program. And if they do not participate in that program, then we would want parents to have their child participate in some program that we can then report back to the state that we did that, because that is a requirement. And so that's where the opt-out piece comes in. It's more about, like we do with everything else, if there's a certain activity, we opt out of that and then give the student something else to utilize. So those are the needs improvements. Like I said, I appreciate the fact that you took time and went through these and wrote what you wrote on highly effectives, and needs improvements, so I can understand. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood where I was coming from, and if there was anything that could be clarified, that would be helpful, because I'm all about improving, and so are our people. So, you know, when I say that, I mean all these people out here, our principals, everyone at the school, our teachers, custodians, food, so everybody, they all do a tremendous job. This isn't, I know this is my evaluation, but this isn't about me. It's everybody working together to make this happen for the students every single day. You know, we're up to 46,000 students now, and so it's a big, big job. The last thing I want to say is just to remind people, and I think Ms. Ziegler did a little bit too, but just to remind people of what we've all of us, parents, students, principals, district admin, board members, have really been through together. All of us together have been working through this for the last year and a half, 2 years. You know, we had COVID. We had culture and race issues that we brought to a halt with that presentation when I first walked in the door. We had ESE corrective action, which our ESE department has done a tremendous job with, and the DOE has said that we're a model school district. We hired a new chief academic officer back there, Chris, and our new executive director for elementary ed, Brandon, back there, doing a fantastic job. Fulfilled district-wide accreditation. We'd never done that before. We did district-wide accreditation. The town hall meetings, we all remember those, right? Those were impactful. Jumpstart to get our kids back and helping them after COVID. The On the Move videos, Craig, awesome job. Presented many meetings and foundations and to foundations and different community groups. We did that. We saved $1.5 million in the district office that we cut back. Saved $1.5 million. We had the first State of the Schools that we're going to do another one in December 5th. First time we've done State of the Schools address. Created staffing committee to end overstaffing in our schools. Saved like $1.2 million just by not overstaffing our schools and pulling back on one or even two people, and then looking at the schools and saying, what do you need as a Title I so I can move some of that your direction instead of everybody getting the same thing. It doesn't make sense. We did that. We hired behavior specialists, 23 of them, hired 14 instructional facilitators, 40 literacy coaches who also do intervention, small group instruction. We created, like I said, created logistics for COVID, dealt with supply chain issues, kept the schools open, even though we had employee shortages. We created a strategic plan. We created pre-K classrooms. We went from 30 pre-K classrooms, now we have 50. Referendum initiative, passed at 85%. We hired a brand new CFO. We continued the On the Move videos. We're over 250,000 views. Began fidelity checks, began conversations and visions on professional learning communities, which are really going to help us all. We maintained the A rating. We grew 24 points on the FSA. We went through a major hurricane, and we dealt with this stupid swatting stuff that's going on out there. So, I mean, we've done a lot. And just to top it off, I want to say, when I look at these schools and I look at these particular, I know I'm taking a long time, but I need to do this. The particular categories in the FSA, like English Language Arts Achievement, learning gains in English Language Arts, and all those, mathematics. When you look at this year, like I said before, moving 3-4 points in a category is absolutely amazing, okay? And that's pretty much what you'll see, 3-4 points. Alta Vista, 11 points in learning gains in English, 11 points in learning gains in math, 15 points in mathematics learning gains, lowest 25%. Bayhaven moved 19 points in English learning gains, 29 points in mathematics learning gains, 25 points in mathematics, lowest 25%. Brentwood moved 17 points in English language arts gains. Inglewood, 22 points it went up in English language arts gains, 21 in math gains, 23 in science achievement. Fruitville went up 10 points in English language arts gains. Southside went up 20 points in English, lowest 25% gains, 20 points in mathematics learning gains, 12 points in lowest 25 gains. And back to what someone said about the goals sheet and the one that I get the bonus on. Remember that? It was half. It was like a 50%, and that's an F or whatever. Well, when we made that, I made it by proficiency. If I had created that with learning gains, I'd have got all of them. But you don't know, and you just put it out there, and we didn't know. We were just trying to put out some goals to try and meet the goals. So, so you guys did a really good job, but I just didn't. Anyway, Tuttle, 14 points, 15 points, and that's in English and math. Venice Elementary, 19 points in math, 27 points in math, lowest 25%. Goshio, 20 points in math learning gains, 29 points in lowest 25%. Wilkinson, 39 points in English language arts learning gains, 35 points in English language arts learning gains of lowest 25%, 19 mathematics learning gains, 16 mathematics lowest 25%. 17 at Garden in English language arts. 28 points, Glen Allen, English language arts, lowest 25%. 22 points in mathematics. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. You guys are amazing. And the whole community, with what I just read, all the stuff that happened in the last 2 years, and you're able to do this, my job is done. And you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. So, Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I want the board to understand, from my point of view, you all have different strengths. And I know that it's difficult to work together sometimes because we have different things and different issues to work on. But we all need to definitely make sure we're coming together and working for a common goal as we move forward. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the evaluation. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Brown?
You know, I almost expected that of you. You know, you got 30 highly effective and you got 8 needs improvement, and you spent all that darn time talking about the needs improvement issues. You know, I know that would focus you, but you look at those learning gains that we made, you know, in addition to the COVID, we also had a lot of political issues in our district, what was coming in Tallahassee and how it was being, you know, so for you to be able to take those numbers and improve them like you just said, in view of all of those things, when other districts, other states are still seeing learning losses and we're seeing learning gains, I definitely feel that I made the right decision with the highly effective. And, you know, and I don't believe we're still talking about the character strong, but while I was out of the country last week, I got a text message from a neighbor. Her son, 3 years old, was getting a certificate, you know, being represented for gratitude, this character strong, and he was going to be, you know, acknowledged that it, and her husband couldn't go, and she wanted to know if I could go. And I'm like, well, I get back on Wednesday, I'll be there on Friday. And if you want to know what the community thinks about Character Strong, go to one of those monthly meetings when they're giving out the awards to the students and why this student earned the award for respect or why they earned the award for gratitude or responsibility. And next month, it's going to be the selflessness that we heard about tonight, or empathy, understanding and connecting to other people's feelings. I don't understand why people don't think that's a good thing. And yes, we've had some people discuss it, and I think it had to be because social-emotional learning. But I think if people got their information about what we're doing from our schools, you know, go to some of these programs, go to some of the teachers and find out what they're doing, or listen to our Student of the Month, you know, rather than getting things on the internet or other questionable places, you'd have an understanding what we're doing. And I'll stop and I will move that the board.
Hold on.
Oh, I can't make a motion?
Not yet.
All right.
I'd like Dr. Cantalupo to come up, please, and discuss the average of the scores so that we do this appropriately and transparently as to how this all shakes out. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So it's all published in the next to the agenda. If you download the scores, you can't hear me. How's that? Can you hear me? Not really. I'm turning them on, I promise. Okay? All right, there we go. So the evaluation is published. It's in the attachment, so you can look at it, and you can look at the summary page, which I think really tells the whole story. The evaluation itself includes 10 standards going down the left side, if you look at the summary page. And then across the top are all the board members and how they rated on each of the standards. Across each standard, we have the mode or the most popular response there. If there was a tie, so for the first one, for example, leadership and standard of culture, there was 2 highly effectives, 2 needs improvement, 1 effective. So then we use the median score, which is effective. If you go down then and do this for every standard, then go down the final score, you'll see that there was 3 effectives and 7 highly effectives, which led to the overall conclusion of highly effective. If you just looked at the summary of everybody's ranking, each one of the board members, you had 3 highly effectives, 1 needs improvement, and an effective, which rated to highly effective. So that's how we calculated it. I think every which way you look at it, it came out highly effective.
Thank you.
I move that the school board evaluates the superintendent's performance for the 2021-2022 school year as highly effective.
Second.
Any discussion? Any more discussion? If not, please vote. And the motion carries 4-1 with Board Member Rose dissenting. And next we have our item that we moved down. It's item number 10. And Tracy will come up and speak on this item, please.
Tracy Cardenas is our Director of Pre-K. Hi, Tracy.
I love pre-K. It's great.
Good evening.
Yes.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak on item 10, but I'm going to adjust my mics back up a little. Sorry. There we go. So I'm here for item number 10, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the experiential learning for our early learning and pre-kindergarten classrooms. The intent behind that, funded through the Patterson Foundation, was to stimulate expressive language and to increase early literacy skills. The gal that's been contracted to do that is a gal by the name of Jessica McHugh, and she's a certified teacher with a master's degree, and she has been board approved to be contracted. She's on leave. So anyway, that whole program is tied with our Florida Early Learning Developmental Standards. It is a program that will help to increase oral and expressive language for our earliest learners, and is tied to our 2017 standards. So for example, in weeks 9 through 16, the program would target like letter sound recognition, for example. So Ms. McHugh may go in and work with the classroom, model that by maybe doing some letter formation activities, like, for example, here's the letter Y, put your bodies like that. How else can you show a Y? Get on the floor, make a Y, or maybe a letter C, things like that, for the language and literacy domain. So that's basically it in a nutshell. There's lesson plans tied to each one. If you look over the Florida Early Learning Developmental Standards, it does include like recognizing faces, for example. Hugely important, right? So we want our children to understand how to understand like a character's emotions, for example. Like here's, the way that how do we look when we're sad? How do we look when we're happy? Like that. So that's basically the program. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me. Anyone?
Well, I just want to say that I've spent a number of years working with the pre-K program at Goshio, and I've seen a lot of results that have lasted well into grammar school for those students that started in pre-K. And, once once a child accelerates, once a child has a great experience with learning, and then the summer programs that we had, which, you know, helped a great deal in eliminating some of the summer slide. These kids have done very, very well who come from, you know, our English language learners, our, you know, lower socioeconomics, and have done very, very well. And from a myriad of backgrounds in that program. And it made me a believer. And, you know, I went off talking to various people in Tallahassee about why, you know, we don't have that as part of our curriculum to start kids at 4 years old. But I think that we're doing a great job, and thank you for all that you're doing, because this is a wonderful program. And of course, the Patterson Foundation is a bedrock in this community. Deborah Jacobs is such a thoughtful leader, and they have been, you know, so helpful to us in grade level reading and other initiatives that we've had, along with the other foundations, which truly everyone in the state that knows Sarasota County thinks that we are so very lucky to have all these foundations in our community, because they are so generous with us and so generous in helping our students. So thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Brown.
I also want to thank you and put a plug in for you. Teachers need to learn how to reach their students and how to put that spark of wanting to learn in those kids. And it's not just opening up a book and reading a book to a kid. That's not it. It might be having a stuffed animal that is in the book right there next to them so that they can see that. My daughter teaches kindergarten, and she combines science with what they're reading. She's got 18 kids, 4 different reading levels, and she's learned you put the books together for those 4 different reading levels. And I think it was something about a pumpkin seed and then how it becomes a pumpkin, and then somewhere along the line she asks, oh, I forgot, what is that called? What's that stage called when they, oh, I know, the kids, well, what is it? She said, oh, I think it was, I don't know, a seedling or something they called it, or a sprout. I don't remember what the question and answer was. But my daughter looks like, huh? How did you know that? It was in my book. I learned it in my book. And she said, you mean you can learn things other than just me, the teacher? You can learn things from my book. And they all pointed, they all had a different page in their book where they all learned that. And they go, yeah, we can learn things even more than what you teach us. You know, so that's opening that window to them. And that isn't something that most of our teachers have learned in college, because they didn't know that we needed to teach our teachers that. And we've learned. And it's opening the door to these kids to show them joy in learning. And that's something that you do. And I think we have to be very careful about biting a hand that feeds us, because we've got these foundations in our community that are helping us, helping our teachers, filling a need. And I think we need to be very careful that we don't act like we don't want their help anymore, because I think we need to welcome them with open arms.
Did we make a motion? Did we make a motion? Did you make the motion yet? We did not yet, did we? You didn't second it, so I'm getting back to another. So now could we have a motion, please?
I move that we approve item 10. I threw it away, just a minute. It's the Patterson grant. I move that we approve a memorandum of understanding between the Patterson Foundation and the School Board of Sarasota County be approved as presented.
Second. We'll have a voice vote.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Brown, yes. Mrs. Ziegler?
No.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
No.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 3-2 with dissent from Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose. And I believe that ends the major part of new business. There are a couple of announcements that I have to make. The next work session is scheduled for Tuesday, November the 8th at 9 a.m., and it's a full day. The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 15th at 6 p.m., and a special board meeting for the Finance Corporation of the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida will take place immediately following the regular board meeting on the 15th.
You don't need to do that. Say that again.
Wait a second. Why
Where are you?
this? I don't think that's supposed to take place. Ixnay that.
It's just a regular board meeting
The regular board meeting will be on the 15th at 6 p.m. No meeting after that. And at this point, we only have one discussion point. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. I just want to point out for the public and the press, if they're paying attention, that when we hear public comments, and frankly, it's been a frustration of mine for the last year, we have a handful of what I refer to as the frequent flyer public commenters come in, and then board members remove a particular agenda item, and it gets moved over, and we have a divisive conversation. From my point of view, I think it's important to point out that when it comes to things like that, I believe that we have a silo of what we're hearing at a board member or at a board meeting. I really interact with the community at large. I get plenty of negative feedback on an ongoing basis of things that they would like me to do better or vote certain ways. But the bulk of what I hear, particularly in and around an example like Character Strong, I hear positive feedback from parents on an ongoing basis and thank yous for reinforcing the values that we teach our children at home. So I get those kinds of, so I don't want anyone to be confused that what you hear here in a board meeting is the public sentiment. It's not the public sentiment. It's a silo, and it's a small silo. Otherwise, I'd be voting differently because I would be paying attention to what the community at large wants. So the applause that you heard from Dr. Asplin and the pieces that we hear about all the great work that's being done in the school district, that is actually what's going on. Let me tell you that 70% of our parents love the schools where their children go. Let me repeat that. 70% of our parents and families love the schools, and that backed up with a referendum passing at 85%. That, my friends, is the community at large. It is not the silo that we hear here and the divisiveness that happens when things get moved off of a consent agenda, because we represent all of you, not just the ones that come in and complain and paint the wrong picture.
Mrs. Brown.
I also want to say we do a disservice when we pull something from a consent agenda at the board table, because it isn't transparent. What transparency is oh wait, we've got something on the agenda, it seems to be okayed by the superintendent and the board chair who looks at it. The board members have had a chance to look at it, and it's going on. Even before we get to the table, an item can be pulled after it's put out there on Friday. So I would hope that people who read the agenda and want to take an action, because what it doesn't give those people a chance to come in and tell us why they support an issue. Nor do we hear from staff why they support an issue or why they want to see this put through. All we're hearing is, like you said, a few people who are saying they don't like something. And that doesn't give those people who support it the chance to come in here at the meeting and then vote for it. I'm thinking that perhaps it needs to be, if in fact we're going to try to vote it down, we should move it to for another agenda if it has to be done at the table, so that those people who support it have the opportunity to come and speak for it too, rather than just pulling it and voting against it at the table. I think it's a more transparent way of doing it, and I think it's more fair to our staff and also to the public at large, rather than just listening to, tonight, I think there was 3 people who spoke out against an item and 1 that spoke for it. But the general population would think, well, you're supporting this, it's on a consent agenda. I think to be transparent, it needs to be moved to a future agenda if you were going to pull it from the consent agenda.
Well, thank you for those comments, Mrs. Brown, but they really don't make much difference because you and I have one more board meeting left. So, and there's the group you were just talking about. So next off, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Those of you who would like to leave may do so. Otherwise, we will now call forward our general item hearing of citizens. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Barbara Vaughn, Nivea Clausen on deck.
Mike.
They may have turned it off, I don't know.
Okay, yes.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. My name is Barbara Vaughn. I'm a citizen of Sarasota County, and I am so pleased to be able to pray for this school board, and I am disappointed that the principals left because they deserve prayer. They're going to get it anyway, even though they're not here to hear it. Father God, we do thank you for this wonderful community we live in. We thank you for our schools, and we thank you most of all for the principals and the teachers and those who run the schools and make them so wonderful and make the children happy because they're learning. Lord, we pray that you would be with the new incoming board, bless them abundantly with the courage and the fortitude and the bravery and the kindness that they will need to conduct these board meetings and to supervise our schools. Lord, we thank you for those who have come tonight. We're sorry that it has taken so long, but Lord, most of us have learned tonight, and we thank you for that. Now, Lord, in your precious name, we pray that you would be with each person here as we go from here and until we are together again. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Ashley Cote on deck.
Mr. Asplin, I just want to you handled that with an immense amount of grace. I don't think any of us have to do an evaluation in public, and I was just impressed with the grace that you brought to it. To the pre-K representative, I just wanted to say you made an excellent case against masks, and we really appreciate that. I want to say, because many of us parents love our schools, doesn't mean that we don't want to improve them. I was criticized today for being against a motion, which I clearly said I was neither for or against. I was just interested in what is the research to support all of our programs, and that I just want to make sure that we're using research-based programs. It was chilling to hear from a board member that asking about the efficacy of a program was seen as complaining. That asking what strings are attached with foundation dollars is coming off as unappreciative. That sharing our concerns feels like a downer. This community voted decisively to revamp the school board because some of you forgot that you are elected by parents who want transparency. We are parents who want our students to flourish academically and not to be indoctrinated. That's what we care about. And to the way that two board members were treated in such a condescending way, the grace that you showed to not fire back is pretty phenomenal.
Alexis Spiegelman on deck.
Ashley Cody, it's been a hot minute since I've been here. Don't miss the divisiveness, though, at all. I wanted to come and say, from a Northport community member, how amazing my child's teachers and principal were for us. They reached out as soon as they had service, as soon as they had power, and they reached out to make sure that we were okay. We were not okay, but we're getting there. A lot of us are still healing, and I just want, and Lakeview, Miss Wheatley was here. They're amazing. Again, the teachers, just what they've been dealing with and what everybody's been struggling with. Life's still not back to normal for many, for a lot of people. And I wish you guys would sit up there and work together. Because if you don't work together, I don't know what's going to happen. And as far as being involved in the community, I'm in your district, Mr. Edwards. I've brought many issues up here. I think maybe one out of all of them we've actually communicated with. That's it.
Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty. Dr. Asplin, less is more when it comes to transparency. Why not take a proactive approach? I'd also like to suggest that we move back to bi-monthly meetings to provide for a public comment period after each workshop. Everyone would benefit from giving the public the opportunity to provide feedback before the item comes up for a vote. Why not cut out the performances, prolonged monologues, and all other non-agenda related presentations and conduct those in a separate quarterly ceremony for those who wish to attend? On November 22nd, we have an opportunity to turn a new leaf as a district. A great way to do that is to begin by establishing greater trust. I want to thank Ms. Rose and Ms. Ziegler for taking our parent pledge that pledges to honor the fundamental rights of parents, including but not limited to the right to direct the education, medical care, moral upbringing of their children, and to advance policies that do the same. You can find it on our website. We invite all our district leaders and board members to do the same. Last month, Moms for Liberty Sarasota leadership attended the State Board of Education meeting in Orlando to support several new rules, one being accountability for teachers who break the law. Teachers who violate the principles of professional conduct, HB 1557, or HB 7, the Stop Woke Act, prohibiting CRT, may now have their license revoked by the Commissioner of Education. While 99% of our teachers are wonderful, this new rule is for that small minority, such as the Riverview teacher who quietly returned to work after a 2-month vacation and after being featured in a viral video on social media, issuing veiled threats while discussing her disdain for parents and opposition to the new parental disclosure and permission requirements. School districts are also now required to notify parents of any co-ed bathroom policies and to send out a mailed notice to all district parents. They must identify all co-ed bathrooms and in the school as well as bathrooms that are not co-ed. All schools must make bathrooms available that are not co-ed and separated by biological sex. Additionally, elementary schools must now provide access to a digital catalog of all books made available in media centers and classroom libraries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last time I was here, I was in tears, and I'm not in tears tonight. I would like to make a few observations about safety within this school last time I spoke. I asked you, Dr. Asplin, if you advised the principals to issue a letter stating parents could not walk their children to class, or even access campus? You never answered that question. Tom, when you come to board meetings, do you have to have your body wanded? Ladies, do you have to have your purses searched? Shirley, did you have to be wanded tonight? Did any of you board members have to have a background check or fingerprints to work for us or interact on campus? My observations of this board meeting is staff do not have to be searched. The student rep nor her parent had to have her purse searched in a previous meeting. I asked a police officer why he had to search my purse, and he stated, in case I have a weapon. I am 100% supportive of safety in a school setting or board meetings for all persons. Dr. Asplin, when I go to the elementary to attend an IEP meeting, SAC meeting, or volunteer, my purse is not searched. I have total access. When was the last time a parent was accused of being a school shooter? This district continues to contradict what safety and security looks like. One thing is certain, parents continue to be treated as potential criminals or safety risk. In some circles, these searches for some could be defined as profiling or discrimination. I am so glad you brought the principals here today. One of your principals put out a statement saying a parent was pushing misinformation to the board. That was me. Dr. Asplin, have I ever been called out here lying? Has any board member stated I am presenting information that is not accurate? This principal invited me to call her, but we parents know that some principals like to file charges and have homes get raided at 2 a.m. in front of our children. Could you please develop a specific policy for parents' access, and all parties are searched in board meetings? Thank you.
That concludes general comments.
Dr.
Sorry, you're right. My error. Connie Bruni. My mistake. Please come up.
Connie Bruni, Sarasota County resident. I'd like to talk about a few things. Dr. Asplin, you said that this district does not teach CRT. Tonight, that was said. Here's a question from a PE class. The question is, this week, Chantel and Joey are arm wrestling. Based on race and gender, who would you predict to win the arm wrestling match? Are you kidding me? Really? Okay. Your protestation is intellectually dishonest. Mr. Edwards, the school board election that occurred August 23rd said a whole bunch of people were not satisfied. Taxpayers, voters, they're your bosses. I'd like to talk to you about nepotism. The Oxford Dictionary definition: practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. Nepotism in the county's handbook, defined as showing favoritism or patronage to relatives. Policy 6.12, 1A, family members, as in individual's spouse, parent, child, brother, sister, grandparent, grandchild, parent-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, stepchild, or any other member of his or her household. Section 3, no employee may transfer to a cost center of his or her supervisor would be a family member. Section 4, no instructional employee or any employee who reports to a school administrator may be assigned to a school site at which the family member is an administrator. Was Mr. Asplin's wife's job posted publicly and open to all potential applicants? I'll be making a FOIA request for all information regarding this position. A deep and thorough investigation into the smelly situation is necessary and definitely in order. The appearance of a potential treatment, preferential treatment of relatives is serious.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Dr. Asplin?
Yes, I just wanted to say to Ms. Spiegelman, I would love to have you come in and see me. I know I've tried to get you in a few times and you haven't come in to talk. So, all these things that we talk about, it'd be great if you could come in and talk to me. So, great, fantastic, thank you. And Ms. DeWitt, same thing. If I could. Perfect. Thank you. And Ms. DeWitt, same thing. If you want to do that, that'd be great. We can have that conversation about all those items that you brought up tonight. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.